Hi, so today I'm joined by Igor Jovanovic. Thank you ever so much for joining us today for this special interview. It's fantastic to have you with us, particularly considering your busy schedule with other interviews. But we're delighted to discuss your many commitments, particularly around education, sustainability, entrepreneurship. So thank you ever so much for joining us today.
Nice to meet you, and I hope we will spend this time pretty well with discussing and talking.
No, definitely. And many congratulations as well on your many accolades. And most recently, you're making the top 50 Global Student Prize as well. It's fantastic and worthy of your many accomplishments.
Thank you so much. And I need to say to you that we are together in all of this.
No, definitely. And it's amazing to be able to learn from each other, which is fantastic. So to begin with, I think it'd be good to get some background for our viewers, particularly around what it's like in Serbia and how have you found growing up in that particular culture. And from our perspective, in terms of a lot of the media, we seem like lots of aggression, political turmoil, security problems, etc. Is that would you say an adequate representation of what your experience has been like, or has that been different, and how's that made it impacted your journey so far?
When we're talking about Serbia, European countries still have some thinking about Serbia. Oh, Serbia is not developed, or we don't have innovations, technologies, and young people who are working in these parts of sectors. But if we're watching from 20 years ago, yes, of course, we had some problems in history, in wars, and in bad influence of wars, of course. But year by year, we are starting to develop a lot of innovations and new technologies. And today, I can say that Serbia, for example, one city in Serbia, Novi Sad, this is a second city in Serbia, have bigger GDP for software industry than whole Turkey, for example. So the small city, the small country like Serbia, have bigger influence in software development than whole Turkey. So that's showing how Serbia giving really a lot of time to young people, giving a lot of influence in these sectors. And I can say that I'm working with one company, technology park and industrial park. They produce trains for example, for London, for Berlin, for other big cities in Europe. And in that case, we can give a lot of innovations, a lot of young people with perfect skills. And the most important in Serbia, usually young people are not based on one part of education. They're based on, for example, in engineering, in biology, in medicine. So we are making all of that like mix in one. That's why we have a lot of innovations.
No, that's fantastic. And thank you so much for sharing. That's interesting to see what the developments have been over the recent decades. And I presume that's kind of how your involvement's kind of flourished, particularly around supporting social entrepreneurs, which seems very prominent from the work that you've done. And it's all very fantastic and admirable stuff. And I was reading something around the dragon in green socks, which, I mean, it sounds very amusing, like the phrase, but I wasn't very sure without looking into it in too much depth. What does the association do, and how has this kind of led on to some of your global involvements?
To be honest, usually when people hear name Dragon in Green Socks, and when we're talking about technology, and people start to looking like, oh, who is that? What's that? But in this case, a Dragon in Green Socks, that's informal organization based in one small village in south part of Serbia. And after that, that organization started with some projects. The first project, the most important for this organization, started with book. So a lot of kids from school, they wrote a lot of poems. They made book. They sell books, and after that, they renovated school. So that's amazing. That's like I can say that young kids made a lot of that. After that, they help other school. After that. A lot of kids and young students were involved in technology innovation competitions in Serbia and in the world. And I can say that all of this competition, we are won like first or second place. And I became a part of this organization, informal group. 2018, when we were in Palace of Serbia after a conference of Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, which I am part, and I can say that I'm really active in a mission to Serbia, to Organization of Security and Cooperation in Europe. And that small organization give application to me. I became top 50 students, and I'm really happy, especially like young person. And that's something like show me all my effort and all of my before work. And yeah, I'm showing myself and I'm showing my community and Serbia in the best way.
No, that's fantastic. It's amazing that you've had the opportunity to give something back to other young people and help them develop their like entrepreneurial skills and work on what I imagine are a range of different projects. So that really is fantastic, and it's really interesting to hear about that. I did read something else around you recently being invited to China for a couple of months secondment to develop technology innovations. What did you learn from this, and how will the experience shape your future ambitions? Because there does seem to be a very nice like strand of technology in all the projects that you've worked on so far in one way or another.
Yes, when we're talking about new technologies, me and my group, some parts of some members from Dragon and Green Socks, we have world innovations and technologies. Because we are using all of our knowledge, we mix that and we try to make the best influence in our innovations. And after work, after near to 4 years, we are made 5 patents. And from all of these 5 patents, 5 innovations, we are made one, the most important, and this is in sector of electromobility and smart systems of heating. So, for example, if industry zone spending 1,000 euros in electricity power, we can use from 1,000 euros, we can save 200. So 20% of energy is amazing. If you save just 2% of energy and money, you can save the world in that way. So 2 days ago, I also was in one technology competition, and the most important presentation to now, it was about Musk. 100 years ago, when a lot of wars start and CO2 starts from the worlds and bad influence of the world of worlds. 50 years after that started industrial revolution, Musk still. 50 years after that, 2021, we can see that we have Musk still. So 100 years ago, we are not go out of the Musk.
No, of course, and that sounds like something that can be quite easily transferred to other regions across the world and can be adopted on quite a high level. Of course, the impact of that would be scaled in as part of that process. That's really interesting to hear about.
This innovation working in electromobility, so this is for all types of electric vehicles, not just for electric cars. For example, Tesla here just for Tesla cars, Fiat also just for Fiat cars, because they want to save their brand in one way. In other way, we are using for heating electro boilers and thermoaccumulation boilers, and in that case, we can save electric energy in that way. The third innovation is also we can make recuperation of electric energy, and that energy we can use again. And also the most important innovation which we want to working in future include ions and the active ions, and from that part we want to produce electric energy, because we have ions everywhere. We have sun, we have wind, and we want to make something new what the world doesn't have yet.
No, of course, and that sounds like a really innovative way to increase renewable technologies. It really is fantastic. And I was also reading about your like diplomatic projects and particularly working with overseas embassies. Is this something that you've decided to do to scale your like sustainable like impact even further and basically foster better community relations? Is that where like this like extra interest stems from, and how has this experience like shaped your worldview?
Yes, I like to say, everyone who asks me like what you want to show, the most important part, I want to show my community to the world, and I want to show world to the community, because a lot of young people don't have they can't to travel, or we have a lot of reasons. And in that case, I want to present a lot of countries in Serbia and to present my community and my country to other communities in other part of the world. In that case, I want to learn new languages. I want to learn new cultures, new traditions, in that way that I want to know everything. And I can say with my 23 years, I know about a lot of cultures and traditions in the world. And I'm pretty happy because I know, I understand other people. That's the most important. Understand other people. It's really important for next projects, for cooperation. And the last is in diplomacy. When we're talking about diplomacy, I'm active with embassies and I can say in projects with the most Asian and African countries. But in some previous time, I also worked with the Australian embassy, with Norway embassy. Right now, I'm active with Indonesia, Pakistan, and China. Well, yeah, we're talking about big influence of China and in that thing, but I want to show that hospitality from Asian countries. For example, for me, the most important part which I saw from Asian people, when they have card, business card, and when they're giving to you, they do this. So they giving some energy, you know, like when they're giving and they like, oh, this is for you, like gift, not just the basic card business. So in that way, I feel that people like they're so kind, and they trust you to do that. And with African countries, I think European Union, all European countries, stop to have some influence or diplomacy connection with Africa. And the best example in when we're talking about diplomacy is that Serbia helped with more than 500,000 of vaccines to African countries. So the small country like Serbia, we have production of Sinopharm. And in that way, the small country in Europe have 5 types of vaccine. We can choose which vaccine we want. And we have a lot of vaccines to help other countries. We gave more than 1 million of vaccines to the region. So we show that we don't thinking about war, we're thinking about economy, we're thinking about diplomacy definitely, and we want to work together. And one of the best example about region, we made the mini Schengen. So that's like Balkan Schengen. We are started from Serbia, Albania, and North Macedonia. And in this case, we don't need passports. We don't have roaming for SMS or talking. So in that case, we're starting pretty well. And I can say that Serbia is really strong now in diplomacy in the region and in the world. And also I'm part of all of that. I'm studying industrial engineering with informatics, but I'm really engaged and I'm giving a big effort to show my community and my country in the best way. And I think that I'm doing that pretty well.
No, you definitely are, and it's actually very empowering to hear a lot of the things that are going on in your country that I hadn't heard of before, particularly around the vaccine side. And distributing like such a range of vaccines across to impoverished areas such as Africa, and it's very admirable. And has that kind of led on to your publications? Because you mentioned previously about writing a couple of books and doing various radio broadcasts, etc. Is this the sort of area that you'll be doing those in?
Yes. When someone asks me like, "Oh, you're interested in writing?" Oh, yes, I'm writing more than I'm reading. But I like to writing more to show my ideas and all of what I'm thinking about. And in this case, I'm writing 2 novels, and the most important novel on which I'm working right now, I hope that I will publish maybe for 10 years. Maybe can be for 1 year, but every year, every month, maybe every day, I have new ideas to put in the book, and something new can just jump. I'm writing about First and Second World War and human psychology. I want to show about human psychology in that time. In that time, humans started thinking about life and death, about they will have food or not, to thinking about family in the big war, how to save them, how to save to save yourself. And the most important part, I want to show how people today we're talking, people are not moral, we don't have honor. But in this case, in the time before, I want to show how people really have that. And all of us, we have deep inside, but we need to thinking about our history, about our grandparents, and how they give big influence to save our lives. They save their lives to save our lives today. And the human psychology in the big world is, for me, the most fascinated to now.
That's really interesting, and particularly around building integrity and collaboration with the regions. Building on what you've said previously, it seems like you've got a passion for like encouraging education about like sustainable solutions, because a lot of the project you've talked about so far seem to be in sustainability. What's your driving force for like such a diverse range of projects that you're involved in?
Yes, I'm started when we're talking about ecology and environment. I'm started with projects like 2016 with some German organizations, and I can say that I learned everything about using new innovations. And on that innovations, we want to give bigger influence of innovations. So with that basic innovation, we are developed new much better than previous one. And this is the most important, because we are made and we want to working about innovations, like especially when I say to Africa, we have some innovations, have to make water supplies, how to use energy of sun, how to make great influence of plants. And we can see that a lot of projects still going in Africa or in Asia, but we can say that we have really new trend, new innovation which we can to give them, and to working together, of course. And when we're talking about environment, is the most important that we need to, from my side, of course, is the most important to live in green cities with low air pollution, to have waste disposal, and yeah, like basic things. In Europe, that's like normal when we're talking about this. But in countries who don't have that, they don't have logistics about that. That's like, oh, that's a big thing. But everything started from the person and from the head. So when someone doing something small can give big influence.
No, of course, I think it's really important that we do collaborate and understand these issues and create those solutions. So it's fantastic to hear all the amazing work that you are doing in that area.
Yeah. I want to add something more, that also we are working with one industrial park, which I said before, Mind Engineering Group in my city. They have production of trains in, like I said, in London, Berlin, and in other big countries and cities. And in that case, we are working with them to change some laws. So, for example, an industrial zone can be together with the technology park. And that's really important for young people to don't go to one part of the city to other parts, to, like, for example, from work to develop new innovations in other parts. And we are started pretty well in Serbia, and that's so perfect example how young people can give influence to change something what they need, the most important what young people need. And in this case, we want to change some laws in Assembly of Serbia and Parliament, to change some laws in, I can say, in our way, and that influence will be in GDP and in economy, and of course in innovations of Serbia.
No, definitely, and that would presumably encourage like more of a circular economy as well, and empowering young people and their interests is ever so important as a part of that. So thank you ever so much for joining us today and taking some time out of your incredibly busy schedule. I've definitely learned a lot from our discussion today. I'm sure everyone else who will be listening has as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. And I hope that we will working together in next projects. I'm definitely interested to working in projects, so we can make great projects together in Serbia and in England, like on a high level with the economy and ideas, but trust me, Serbia can give a lot, and we can give together effort, and we can make big things in our countries and in the world.